All right, we're gonna go ahead and get started here. Looks like just about everyone is here now. So welcome everyone to the first CPTC meeting of the spring semester. If you don't know, my name is John. I'm the Red Team / CPTC chair. I'm a senior majoring in computer science. I wasn't at the first DBM of the semester because I was like out of town and I had really bad connection, so I couldn't join the meeting. But for those who don't know me, John, I've been red teaming for multiple years now. This is my second year as a red team chair, and I've interned at 2 places doing red teaming and pen testing stuff. And I just accepted a job offer to do red teaming with another company in San Francisco after I graduate. That's sort of my background for those who don't know me. And so just a reminder that we're going to have these meetings every Tuesday at 6:30 p.m. or most Tuesdays 6:30 p.m. depending if there's any holidays, stuff like that. Some other things to know about. So any topics that you would like to here, let me get this out of the way. Sorry about that. So any topics that you want to learn about this semester or teach about, you can put in the following Google Sheet. I'm going to link that. Actually, I can actually link it probably now. I'll put it in the chat, but I'll also put it in the Discord. So feel free to add topics you want to learn or topics you might want to present on as well. That'll be really useful as a sort of a guide for me to like help people to know like what sort of things to present on throughout the semester. Let me go back to full screen here. If I can. There we go. Another thing is to make sure you join the CPTC Discord and the Slack. The Slack channel is just hashtag UFCPTC, and then the Discord link is right here. It's also pinned in the Slack channel. You can see the link there, but again, I'll post that in the Slack later after this meeting or during this meeting. And then for recordings of last semester's lectures, because we just started recording them last semester, we started recording every single one of our meetings. And I've uploaded all those to the UFCit YouTube channel. It's under a playlist called, I think, Red Team Meetings. Again, there's a link here, which I will post sometime during this meeting or after this meeting in the Slack and the Discord. Let me just pull up the chat, make sure no one's. Okay, cool. Another thing, so throughout this semester and throughout red teaming and pen testing in general, it's always good to have some sort of Linux type virtual machine. And so one of the most popular ones specifically for red teaming and pen testing is a distro of Linux called Kali. And so if you're already familiar with Linux and you already have like your own Linux box set up and you're comfortable with that, perfectly fine, go ahead and use that. If you're not comfortable with Linux at all, or you've never used it before, you're not super comfortable and prefer to have a more specific VM for that, Kali is a great OS to use for that. And then if you need any help setting it up, you can send me a DM and I can help you get set up on a US vSphere client. What that is basically just like a UF hosts their own servers that we can then run our Kali OS on. So you don't even have to run on your own hardware. You don't have to cause more wear and tear on your own hardware. You can just use UFs essentially. So if you need help setting up a Kali VM or any Linux VM of any kind or any sort of Linux box to help you get started for this semester, just send me a DM and I can help you get set up with that. Today's meeting, we're not going to need any sort of Linux VM or anything like that. You just need a browser, essentially. Oh, Ben is saying my screen is flickering. Okay. What can I do about that? Let me try. Okay, this is good for you. Maybe it's on your side, Ben. Okay, people are saying it's good for them. Okay, I will continue then. Let's see. So another thing for the semester, there's 2 sites that we use a lot, very heavily throughout, the entire club, and that's TryHackMe and HackTheBox. What those 2 are, they work very similarly in terms of how they work. They're basically like different rooms or boxes you can work on that present different challenges related to security and pen testing and red teaming that allows you to get better and better at red teaming and pen testing. HackTheBox is slightly more advanced. It's a bit more like they just throw you into it and you have to just you're basically given a machine, you're trying to hack into it and get the 2 flags, and then that's that. TryHackMe gives you a more beginner-friendly approach because it walks you through different steps and has multiple questions it'll ask you along the way as it teaches you. So it's really good for beginners. And actually today, we're going to be using TryHackMe to do a little bit of Google Dorking, which we'll get into a little bit later. But yeah, again, you're going to want accounts for TryHackMe and Hack the Box. They're both free. Hack the Box does require you to do a sort of a CTF kind of challenge to actually be able to create an account. I'm personally not a fan of how that challenge is set up. So you can just Google it online on how to solve it super easily. Again, if you're having issues creating accounts for either of those sites, send me a DM and I'll be happy to help walk you through it and any issues you guys are having. But for today, it is important that you guys have a TryHackMe account. So if you don't have one right now, you can go create one really quickly. It only takes a second. You just have to put in, an email, username, and password. And then I think you have to do a confirmation email and that's it. But you will need one today. So make sure you get one now, I guess, as I'm sort of talking, so then we can get right into it once we get, into what we're going to be doing today. So yeah, let me think if there's anything else. Oh, another thing, this is kind of random. The club got a lot of money this semester, thankfully. And so we're looking into making getting shirts for, I think, the red team, the blue team, and the CTF teams. And I'm a horrible designer and artist. I'm like, that's nothing that I do. So if anyone either is or knows someone that might be somewhat good at making designing a t-shirt, even just a small thing, something like this, a small logo in the upper corner of the shirt, and maybe something that says it on the back. If anyone either is good at that kind of stuff or knows someone that is good and be interested in doing something like that, send me a DM on either Slack or Discord, because I'd like to get some shirts done this semester and start handing them out to people in the club. So yeah. Are there any questions so far before we get started into it in terms of what CPTC is? I guess I should explain that for the people who are just beginners. This is their first meeting. CPTC stands for the Collegiate Penetration Testing Club. There's one competition that we compete in every year called CPTC, which stands for the Collegiate Penetration Testing Competition. It's in the fall semester, so we just did the competition last semester, and we've done it twice so far. And so this semester, since it's so far away from the actual competition, we focus on a more bringing the beginners up in this semester, and also, really honing in our skills. And then once we get closer to the actual competition in the fall and summer, is when we really start to focus on the actual competition and what that's required. So this semester is more general learning about penetration testing and red teaming in general. And then again, in the fall time, you're looking more closer to actually specific to that competition. So if you're interested in actually competing in that competition, I know it's all the way in the fall, it's still a long time away. Still send me a DM and then I'll have it noted so that, when the fall times comes, whoever's going to be in charge of CPTC at the time, because I'll have been graduated, they'll have your name down as someone who's interested. So if you're interested in that, send me a DM. Cool. So if there's no questions, then we'll go ahead and get started. So what we're going to be doing today, we have two options here. The first option is going to be, so I give two options for people who are beginners and people who are slightly more advanced. So option one is more for beginners. We're going to be learning about Google Dorking, also just how Google or various search engines just work in general, as well as doing some Google Dorking. And then if time permits, we're going to be doing some web fundamentals in another TryHackMe room as well. I imagine we might have time for that just because the Google Dorking room is pretty short. So if we do have time, then you can go into more web fundamentals of how the internet works in general. The other option, people who are more advanced, maybe you already know Google Dorking and the web fundamentals. You can do the box called Ready on Hack the Box. And if you guys want to hop onto the Discord voice chat in the CPTC Discord and work on that, feel free to do that now. You don't even have to be in this meeting, and I can hop onto the voice chat once this meeting is done to help people who are working on the Ready box. So those are basically the two options. So if you're looking to do the Google Dorking web fundamentals, stick around for this. If you're looking to do the Ready box and Hack the Box, you guys can all hop on the Discord voice chat. So are there any questions? Okay, cool. And feel free to you don't have to type in the chat. You can just speak up, whichever you want to do. It might be easier actually to speak up because I am recording it. I don't think the recordings can get the chat. So it might be better if you were to talk, but you don't have to. You can just put it in the chat if you want. But okay, let me stop sharing here so that I can share my other screen. Can you guys see that? Can you guys see the Try Hack Me website?
Yeah, we can see it.
Awesome, thanks. Cool. So let me show you guys how to join a room if you guys have never used Try Hack Me before. So if you go to like the main just tryhackme.com and you go to the dashboard, it'll show something similar to this. Might show recently enrolled. If you want to find the Google Dorking room, you click on Learn. You can click on All Rooms, and then you can just type in the search bar, just Google, and then the Google Dorking one will pop up. You want to click on that, and you want to click on, I think, like Join Room, and that'll get you in the room. And then you'll be presented with something like this. So the nice little YouTube video and a whole sort of walkthrough. We're not going to watch a YouTube video. We're just going to go through the different tasks it has here. So this is how Try Hack Me is laid out. It sort of has different tasks, and you have like questions for each task you have to answer in order to get to the next task. And so that's why it's sort of beginner friendly, because it sort of walks you through the whole process step by step. Whereas Hack the Box, it just gives you an IP address and you have to hack in to get the flag. So it's a slightly more advanced. But cool. So let's just get started here. So this is the first few tasks all the way up until basically the end. It's talking about like how search engines in general work. So this is not only useful for like, red teaming and pen testing stuff, but also just everyday stuff when you're like, Googling, homework answers or just answers to anything. It's really useful to have this sort of knowledge on how these search engines are working and how you can sort of utilize them to get exactly what you're looking for. So the first question, it's not even a question. You just have to, it's basically just an introduction to what search engines are. Nothing really too important here. They're just, like I'm saying here, search engines are just huge indexers, specifically indexers of content spread across the entire web. And so let's learn about crawlers. So it talks a lot here. I'm more gonna do a general idea of what this is saying, because just reading it does nothing for anyone, because it's just, you can just read it yourself, and I encourage you to when you have your own time. But this is just sort of I'm going to sort of explain it in my best terms, just so you have a general idea, just so we don't have to read the entire thing. So basically, how it works is that the search engines have these things called crawlers, which basically like bots, essentially, that crawl the entire internet, looking for all the different links that it can find. And then, so links like, for example, here, like mywebsite.com. What it does is once it finds the links, it goes to that link, right? And then it gets the contents of that website, basically grabbing any keywords it can find. So this example, like mywebsite.com has like apple, banana, pear. Another website, might have anything related to maybe really food or cooking, or maybe running or outdoor activities, stuff like that. It'll grab like keywords so it can basically generalize what that site is about, right? Once it has keywords related to that site, it's going to send those keywords to the search engine, like it's saying here, and it's going to be stored. So that way, if you were to search for that word, like, for in this case, like Apple, the search engine will then present you with mywebsite.com. If you were to look up specifically, like, I don't know, running shoes, it will present you with the other, like a running related website, because that's the content that the crawler found in that website. That's essentially how it's indexing different things. So how it finds other websites, or how does it find the content within your website? What it does is that it'll go to your website, let's say your root domain, mywebsite.com, and let's say your website then has a bunch of links within it to like other, so mywebsite.com/apples or mywebsite.com/shoes, for example. It's going to find all those links in the first root domain, root website, and then basically click all those links and then index those as well. So it's basically getting all the links it can and scraping all those for the content, and then storing it, indexing it for the search engine. So a good example would be here. So search engine indexes all crawled websites that has the keyword pairs. Another website.com website contents which has apple, banana, pear. That's what I was talking about before. When you type in the word pairs, it's going to find it that this website.com has pairs in it. So this is how it would work when it has like essentially when you have multiple websites with similar sort of similar keywords, which I think is what this explains. So So the crawler initially finds mywebsite.com, or it crawls the content of the websites, finding the same keywords as before, but it also found an external URL as well, which goes to another website, another website.com specifically. And then it's going to index that one as well. So it's going to basically, it'll choose a link, mywebsite.com, get all the links for that one even within that website. So like I was saying before, mywebsite.com/shoe/apple, whatever. But then it'll also find external URLs as well and also crawl those. So mywebsite.com had a link to another website.com, and then clicked on that one and then crawled that one. And it basically just continues to do that. So maybe another website.com has a link to facebook.com. Then the crawler would then start crawling facebook.com and content, and basically indexing that for its content as well. And that's essentially how a crawler works and all these bots are doing. They're basically crawling the entire internet, getting all the keywords, finding all the links that it can, and then indexing it for these search engines like Google to make it easier. So when you type in a specific keyword, it will essentially find it and then display it for you. So it's like, that's essentially how most of the internet works in terms of search engines. So let's see what's it. Although note that another website.com was only crawled because it was referenced by the first domain, mywebsite.com. Because of this reference, the search engine knows the following by the two domains. So basically what I was saying before, how the keywords related to the websites are all here. Okay, so basically what I was saying, again, search for pears, it'll be displayed with that website. And then the same for, if you search for strawberries, it'll show the other website because that's the keyword that it had stored for that specific website. If there's any questions while I'm, I guess, talking about this, or if anything I need to go over again, just let me know. This is all pretty standard stuff. I feel like a lot of you probably already know this in regards to search engines. So imagine if a website had multiple external URLs that require a lot of crawling to take place. And then also a website might have similar information as another website. So how does it do this? So basically, in this example here, you can see that tomatoes, strawberries, and pineapples are indexed in 3 different websites, right? So let me not show you those answers there. So we're going to get into basically how it categorizes which website to display when you type in that specific keyword. Okay, awesome. Yeah, so Ben linked a great YouTube video that explains the mechanics of the internet, including search engines. So you can also watch that as well. That'll be probably a really good reference to use. So if you want to, I don't want to share my screen to the next part because it shows like the answers that I typed in. But if you want to answer the next 3 questions, I'll give you like, I don't know, five minutes or so, and go ahead and do that before we move on to the next section. And if you have any questions, or if you're stuck on one of the questions or you don't know the answer, you can just put in the chat or just speak up, and I can help try to better explain it. So yeah, I'll give you guys like 5 minutes to answer those questions before we move on to the next task.
So does a crawler run like when you do a search, or does it like, or anytime?
So the crawlers are always running, not when you do a
Okay.
search. Yeah, so when you're doing a search, it's just pulling data from its database, and then the database is being collected constantly through crawlers that are always running throughout the internet.
Okay, that makes more sense. Thank you.
I'll give it about another minute before I go over the answers. Okay, so let's go over the first question. So name the key term what a crawler is used to do. I sort of mentioned quite a few times. Its main goal is basically to index the entire internet. So that was just the first answer. That's just what crawlers are supposed to do. They index everything. What is the name of the technique that search engines use to retrieve this information about websites? So that's, again, it crawling, it crawls. That's how it's retrieving information, by crawling the entire web and all the links and getting all the content. So what is the example of the type of contents that could be gathered from a website? This one would just be keywords. They use it here, a lot of the examples, just the types of stuff that it can get from the website. Another thing could be like images, for example. Like if you go to Google Images and you're looking at images online, that's part of what a crawler does to sort of categorize different stuff like that as well. So any questions on this first task, anything I talked about here, and how, in terms of how crawlers work and what they actually do? Okay, cool. So if not, let's get into search engine optimization. So this mostly talks about, just in terms of like how easy it is for a crawler to index your site. So like there's even a Google site analyzer you can use if you have your own website, or you can try it on another website that you're interested in, and see like just how it's rated in terms of its accessibility, performance, best practices, in terms of how easy it is for a crawler, or for Google specifically, to index your site, and so they can show it to people who are maybe Googling or searching for it. So basically, that's basically what it's talking about. So to highlight a few on how these points are scored. So yeah, it's basically the point system with how responsive your website is to different browser types like Chrome, Firefox, Internet Explorer, and how easy it is to crawl your website. And then through the use of something called sitemaps, which we'll get into in another section here. So who or what regulates these crawlers? Aside from search engines who provide these crawlers, web server owners themselves ultimately stipulate what content crawlers can scrape. So search engines will want to retrieve everything from your website, like all the content from it. But there's cases where maybe as a website developer, you don't want the crawler to get to scrape certain content and display it in a search engine. And that's why you use something called robots.txt, which we'll get in here into just a second, which I think probably a lot of people have heard of before, at least. So this one, again, no answers needed for this one. So any questions on this section? This is sort of just like a very general in terms of just what Google does specifically to rate a website, and like why maybe your website is not being the first thing shown compared to another website in like a Google search. Uses this. Yes, great point, Ben. So like certain regulations can be set by like GDPR in Europe that can restrict what is indexed from a website. So let's get into robots.txt. So robots.txt basically tell the crawlers what it cannot index, right? What you don't want it to index. So this is an example here of what a typical robots.txt would look like. It's basically saying user agent, the user agent being the type of browser essentially that it's coming from, or maybe the specific device that it's coming from, to be more exact. And so with a star here, that means universal, means it's allowing any user agent to visit its website. If it only had like, a user agent for, mobile devices in Chrome, or for example, that would mean that you could basically, the crawler would only show that site for people who are using Chrome on a mobile device. But in most cases, it's going to be all, because why would you restrict your site to a specific type of device? And then it's allowing basically everything in the root domain, and then it's also specifying the sitemap, which we'll get into in just a second, into what a sitemap is. It basically allows the crawler to easily index your site. So this is basically what I explained here. The specific type of crawler that can be index your site, specify the directories or file that the crawler can index, and then disallow, which is going to be up here, basically tells it what the crawler cannot index, what specific directories or files you don't want the crawler or the search engine to display when someone Googles for it. So in this example here, you can see they don't want the crawlers to crawl for super secret directory or not a secret, but this is directory. So essentially, if you were to, let's say this is on like mywebsite.com and they had this robots.txt file. If you were to go into Google and like look for that domain, mywebsite.com, and then put in super secret directory, it would not display this directory because the crawler was not allowed to, and so it didn't index it. So according to search engines, according to Google, it doesn't really exist. So it won't display it to you, which web developers might want that because, again, like it's saying, they might have more sensitive information in a directory they don't want to be displayed in, just by Googling it or in a search engine. So what if you only want a certain crawlers to index your site? So again, in the user agent, if you put Googlebot, that would mean that only Google search engine crawlers would crawl your site. That means something like the Bing's crawler or some other browser crawler, Firefox, for example, won't be able to crawl your site, which basically means if you were to try to do some sort of search in like one of their engines, like I don't know, like DuckDuckGo or something, for example, it won't show that. Or you try to Bing something, your website will not show up because you're only allowing Google's bot. And then here you can see here, so Google's bot is allowed, and then crawler, the MSN bot, is specifically not allowed. So this is talking about how preventing specific files from being indexed. So here, again, you're doing disallow on any file name with the extension .ini. And so .ini would be, for example, for like containing sensitive configuration details. So that's basically how robots.txt file works. So something related to security and hacking is that like if you're like doing a pen test on a website, right, and you're trying to find vulnerabilities in it, one of the first things you might want to check is the robots.txt file because it might have list like directories or files that could contain sensitive information, and then you can use the information to maybe get some sort of vulnerability on the website or find some sort of vulnerability that you can then use to maybe get greater access to the website or steal any sort of personal data. So if you're doing a pen test of a website or doing any sort of assessment on a website, robots.txt is one of the first things you want to check because it could point to basically exactly where the hidden gems are. So any questions on like the robots.txt file or how it works? Okay, cool. If not, then I think there's another 2 or 3 questions in this task. If you guys want to take a stab at that, and then I'll go through the answers in about 2 minutes or so. Okay, so let's get into the question. So, where would robots.tc be located on the domain ablog.com? So, robots.tc is always stored in the root at the very top of the site. So, it's going to be ablog.com/robots.txt. It'll always be in the very first directory. So, if a website was to have a sitemap, where would that be located? So, it'd be located in, again, root directory /sitemap.xml. Because sitemap is a .xml extension, which basically allows you, the crawler, to better map out the site. So how would we only allow Bingbot to index the website? We type in user agent Bingbot. How would we prevent a crawler from indexing the directory don't index me? You would do the disallow :/don't index me, just like this. And then what is the extension of Unix/Linux system configuration file that we might want to hide from crawlers? So this one took a second, but if you just think about, if for those who aren't familiar with Linux, it might be a little bit harder for you, but a lot of Linux system configuration files have a .conf extension. So if you find something online on a website that has a .conf extension, it could potentially have some sensitive information, like maybe even passwords or usernames, or any configuration related details to the website. So any questions on sort of the robots.txt or how any of this stuff kind of works? Okay, cool. So then let's get into sitemaps. So sitemaps, like I was saying before, it just makes it a lot easier for crawlers to index your site. So instead of like having to follow each link, like I was saying before, it'll essentially, it'll just go to the sitemaps.xml file, and that file will contain basically an entire index of the site, basically every single link that's in there, all the content related to, all the sort of content related keywords to it, and so the crawler can just use that and then index the site. So this is similar to, I guess, a visual representation of what the sitemap would look like. Like website.com has like different pages, products, home, about us, blog. Within the blog, it might have post 1, post 2, post 3. Products might have groceries, fruits, pears, etc. This would all be inside the sitemap.xml, so the crawler doesn't have to go through all the links which in each page. It can just use this to index it. This is what a sitemap.xml file would look like for that a crawler would then use. There was a recent malware campaign that was discovered due to not setting up the robots to hide. Oh, I didn't know about that, Ben. That's pretty cool. But yeah, this is what a normal sitemap.xml file would look like, basically allowing the crawler to basically go to this and then index it super quickly. So browsers or like search engines really like it when you have something like this. So that score we were talking about before, like that Google analysis of your site score, that'll shoot up if you have a sitemap.xml for your specific site, because it really likes it to, like, they want to do as little work as possible. And so if you give them one of these, it makes their job a lot easier, and then they'll give you basically a better rating for your site. So why are sitemaps so favorable? Like I was saying before, search engines are lazy. They have a lot of data to process. So if it's more efficient for this sitemap, then that's what they want. So let's get into I'll let you guys answer the next, I don't know, 2 or 3 questions. I'll give another minute or 2, and then we'll go over it and then get into the last task. Or if there's any questions again about sitemaps or anything we've covered in the past few tasks, just speak up, let me know, and I'll gladly go over it again. Okay, so let's start going over the answers. So what is a typical file structure of a sitemap? It just says here a few times. It's the XML format. What real life example can sitemaps be compared to? It was saying at the very top, a map, just sort of geographical or sort of map of your website. Name the keyword for the path taken for content on a website. That would just be the route. I think I mentioned it up here. Some of these questions are kind of like not the best. I guess it's supposed to make sure that you're, I guess, paying attention a bit. So if no question on that, we'll get to the last task, which is going to be specifically Google Dorking. So using Google for advanced searching. So basically, search engines like Google can give you a lot more than just simply typing in a general idea of what you're looking for and then hoping for the best. You can do like very specific searches on Google, and that's what Google Dorking is called. Basically, using these advanced sort of features that it provides to get exactly what you want. So a very basic example of this is like a calculator. If you just do like, type in 12 plus 1, for example, it'll just do it for you and display the answer. Another thing that's sort of basic is that if you want to look for exact keywords, not just the general idea, if you put it inside of double quotes, it'll only show you matches that match those words exactly. And so another thing, refine the query. So this is an example showing basically how this person just typed in the news that they wanted for a specific website, but they wanted it from a specific website, not from this website that showed up here. They wanted it from this one. And so if they wanted to get exactly from this website, they would just do site : and then the name of the site and then their search, and then that would show up as the first one. So if you were to put site : the name of your site, and then whatever you're looking for, it will only show results from that specific site. So I can show an example here. So if we were to do site : yeah, let's do PlayStation.com. Sure. It will only show sites, you notice here, that have PlayStation.com as the end. PlayStation.com, PlayStation.com. It even shows the Arabic version of PlayStation.com. And then if we want to type in, I don't know, games or something, then it'll only show results from PlayStation.com, not from any other site. This is really useful if you're, maybe, again, in the real world, if you're looking for maybe information from one particular site only, this would be really useful. And again, in terms of a pen testing and red teaming perspective, if you're doing any sort of OSINT or some sort of information gathering of a specific website you want to look for, maybe you could do like site, then the site you're trying to pen test, and then put in something like, passwords or configuration files, stuff like that, secret stuff, and it won't show you any of the garbage. It'll only show you stuff related to the site that you're looking for. So that's a really useful feature using the site. Let's see here. So some other few common ones are file type. So if you search for a file by a specific extension, this is something that's super useful. I use it a lot, especially like when I'm looking for like textbooks online, because I don't want to pay for them. I'll look up the name of the textbook and then put in file type : PDF, and that'll only show me PDF. So if we were to do like, what's the name of a book? Can anyone give me a random name of any book that comes to your head? You can put in the chat or speak up. The Outsiders. Okay, cool. So let's do The Outsiders and then do file type PDF. And then, file type space PDF. Okay, yeah, so now we get some PDF types. So you can use file type, or actually ext works as well. So if you do ext PDF, then it'll only show you PDFs. So let's try, I'll try this one, see if it's PDF. Yeah, so then you see we got a PDF extension here. It's not specifically The Outsiders, doesn't look like it, but it probably has The Outsiders word in it. So that's why I specifically did that. But as you notice, it's only showing you PDFs. And so that's useful for like, I use it a lot for looking for textbooks, but it's also very useful for other things, maybe not specifically for PDFs, but you can also put other extensions like maybe .conf, like you were talking about before. If you're looking from a website with a .conf extension, you can look up like, I don't know, let's look up keyword passwords extension conf. And you see here we have a passwords.conf file, or anything that has basically sites that have a .com extension. It has the password keyword in it. So I'm not going to click on any of these because it's kind of, this borders the line of legality. I'm just showing this as an example. So do with this, what you will. I do not support any sort of illegal activity. This is purely for educational purposes only, just to get you a better understanding of how, pen testers and red teamers would do this sort of OSINT. So another one is cache. So view Google's cache version of a specific URL. And then in title basically means the specified phrase must appear in the title of that page. Again, useful for basic OSINT stuff. So in this example here, that had the site bbc.co.uk, and then typically they're looking for all PDFs. So basically all PDFs that are inside the website bbc.co.uk, it'll spit it out, and then you can find some pretty interesting stuff. So here you can see an example of this person put specifically in title : index of. So for those who don't know, so for the in title, again, like we were saying before, it just means inside the title of that website, it has to have the words index of. And for those who don't know, index of is basically a common title name for when someone has accidentally exposed their directory listing for their website. So we can do, I think I looked at it before and I didn't see anything sensitive, so I think we can do the first link. So if we do in title, index of, and then if we do index, here, index of data from nasa.gov. This is all open source. This is nothing bad. It'll show something like this. Now, in some cases, this can be very sensitive information that the website did not mean to expose, but the crawler was able to find this and then basically allow us to search for it. So you can just browse through here and see this kind of stuff. This is NASA's, and we know this is all open source stuff because they open source a lot of their information here. But this is sort of something to show how you can use Google Dorking to find a lot of really cool and interesting stuff. So yeah, basically exactly how we saw before. So I'll give you guys a minute or two to answer the questions there at the very end, and then I'll go over it. If you guys have any questions on anything I'm talking about the Google Dorking, because this is actually the really, we talked about search engines, how they work, which is all cool. This is where you can get into really cool stuff and actually start putting some of the stuff we learned into practice and learn about it. So if you have any other questions about it, definitely, speak up.
So instead of file type, what was the keyword you used?
Oh yeah, so it's either file type or extension. So if you do ext, sorry. So if you do back, yeah. So if you do ext, and then you do PDF or txt file, for example, then that'll work as well.
Thank you.
Yeah, no problem. You can do conf and find some interesting stuff here. Again, this is all bordering on the line of illegality, so I won't click on any of these, especially since we're recording this. So yeah. Okay, so now we'll get into the answers here for the last one. So what would the format be used to query the site bbc.co.uk about flood defenses? Again, you just use the site : bbc.co.uk and then the term flood defenses. Next one, what term would you use to search by file type? Again, is a file type one or the dot or the ext one. They both work. Then there's what term can we use to look for login pages? This is where you basically put, and a lot of login pages will have in the actual title of that specific site will have the word login. So you just do in title login to look for a login page. So if we were to put it here, for example, in title login, maybe you have to put, okay, yeah. So in title login, it'll show again here, log into your account, log in, because they all have inside the title here the word login. So that's why that's a good way to look for login pages. Again, if you're doing a pen test of a website, and you want to look for maybe if there's any secret login pages for like an admin, for example, you can do something like this for in title login. So yeah, are there any questions related to Google Dorking? Something else I actually wanted to mention that's I'm not going to show because it's again it really borders on the line of legality, but there's actually there's cameras around the entire world. And unfortunately, a lot of them are connected to the internet when they shouldn't be. Or if they are connected to the internet, they're not secured well enough like they should be. And then you can actually do a Google search and find a lot of these webcams and basically watch live streams of whatever these webcams are recording. For the most part, they're maybe just recording like, a random street or like some random place somewhere, some like random thing. Well, sometimes it can be slightly more sensitive, and you can actually use Google Dorking to find a list of all of these sort of exposed IoT cameras. And then, so I won't show you how to do that because again, that really borders on legality, but I'm sure you guys could figure out how to find something like that. So that just shows you the power of not only search engines and crawlers, but also the power of Google Dorking, which just like gives you access to all this information that you never thought you could have before. Like you no longer have to like, get lucky when you're like Googling for something. Like you can actually put in exactly what you're looking for and find it on the first page of Google. You don't have to go to the second page anymore because if you know how to do it right, it'll almost definitely be one of the first things that pop up. So are there any questions related to anything we talked about? Because now you basically should have completed the room now, which is great. If you've missed any of the questions, let me know. And just so I can get you, so you can complete all 6 tasks and you can officially complete the room. But if there's any questions about any of these tasks, let me know. Speak up now. Okay, cool. So if there's not, let's see, 724. Oh, here, something else I wanted to show actually was, this is a nice little Google Dork cheat sheet that I tend to have on me, that I tend to reference quite a bit. It just shows you some of the other features that you can use. So like, again, we know site, there's actually, you can do a number range, so search within a range of numbers, search with a specific date, a safe search, which will exclude any adult content, linked, which shows linked images, info about a page, related, end title, we know that, all in title, which is for all the strings within that page title, in the URL, all in URL, similar to above, file type or ext, like I was talking about before, and cache. So these are pretty useful. Again, I'm going to post these slides also in the Slack and Discord, so you guys can, have this cheat sheet as well. Or you can even just Google again. Now you know how to Google Dork, you can probably find the cheat sheet really easy. You have to Google for it. But yeah, so that's Google Dorking in a nutshell. So I really hope this is like sort of a useful sort of introduction to helping you not only in specifically pen testing and finding things related to a certain website you might be trying to hack into, but also just in everyday stuff, because I'm sure everyone here uses Google or some search engine on a fairly regular basis. So this is sort of a useful little hack to better fine tune your searches essentially. So we're running a little low on time. So if you guys want to do the other box I was talking about, which is called, let's see if I find it. Web Fundamentals. It's a great introductory in terms of just like learning how the web works. I recommend that you guys can even do that on your own. And then, because it's pretty short, only 5 tasks, and sort of just talks about sort of how HTTP works, cookies, all that kind of stuff, which is like, again, really useful to understanding for people who don't know about just how general websites function. I recommend you guys do that. You guys have any questions or are stuck on that, you guys can, again, send me a message on Slack or Discord at any time. I'll be happy to help. You know if all the commands work on other search engines or just Google? Yeah, so I think each search engine has its own command. So if we were to look up, I guess, Google Dorking for Bing, let's see if they have. Because I would imagine that they each have their own separate one, but they might work in very similar, if not almost the exact same way. Let's look at my Bing Dorking. Okay, there's a GitHub for it. Let's actually try. Let's just go to bing.com and let's try. Let's see if it has like site PlayStation.com. Let's see if it does the same thing. Okay, it does. So yeah, they might. I don't know if they're all exactly the same, but I imagine a lot of them are very similar in how they work. So again, here even this one works. So we can even try like in title login. Okay, yeah. So even that one. So it's probably like pretty standard for a lot of them throughout most search engines, but there might be some that differ depending on the exact search engine and how they want their features to show. But it seems like for the most part, a lot of the search engines follow the same sort of commands. But yeah, so I recommend you guys do the HTTP web fundamentals if you're not super familiar with like again the web and sort of how websites work with cookies and like responding with requests and all that kind of stuff. I recommend going through this room very quickly. And if you have any questions, you have like basically until our next meeting on next Tuesday, to basically do this room. So it should honestly only take you like maybe half an hour to do this. But if you have any questions, definitely reach out to me and let me know. And then just as a sort of a final note, for future meetings, again, if there's any topics in penetration testing or red teaming you'd like to learn more about, please fill out that Google form. I'm gonna post that link in the Slack and Discord right after this meeting, along with basically these slides and all the other links. But yeah, please make sure to like add anything you might have been like somewhat interested in learning about, or maybe something that you actually would like to present on. Maybe there's a specific topic in pen testing or red teaming that even just a little bit about, or you like to learn more about on your own. You can do that, learn more about on your own, or if you already know about it, and then present like on one of these Tuesday meetings and just present about it and like teach everyone else. Because I don't know everything. Like I know like some aspects of pen testing, some aspects of red teaming, and I can sort of like use that to help out other people in other aspects as well. But I'm sure there's a lot of you that know specific aspects of pen testing that I'm not super familiar with. And then if you guys want to present on that, because it'd be better, it's best for the person who knows the most about it to present about it and talk about it and teach other people. So if there's anything that you'd like to present on as well, or even learn about, fill out that Google form, and then we can start setting up future meetings down the road. And I'll give you like, if you sign up for like you want to present on the topic, you put your name in the Google Doc, and I'll basically send you a message on Slack or Discord, and we'll schedule like a meeting that best fits for you. Like we can have it like multiple weeks down the road, so it gives you plenty of time to prepare to actually present on that meeting. So I'm not gonna like, if you sign up, I'm not gonna tell you, oh, okay, you're up next week, good luck. Like you're gonna have like multiple weeks, and I can help you with anything at all throughout that time to get you prepared for presenting at that meeting. So it's again no pressure. We're all just trying to learn about pen testing, red teaming. We're all trying to like get better and bring each other up. So yeah. So if there are any other questions, I'm gonna stick around for another 5 or 10 minutes or so to answer any other questions. But definitely, if I can't answer it here, send me a message on Slack or Discord, and I'll definitely try to help you. And that was the end of the meeting. I'll see you guys all next Tuesday.